Hey everyone, this is Marcos, your TA, your favorite TA, right? Um, so I'm gonna be going over the next section, 14.2, on how firms set price depending on their market power. So um, yeah, let's get started. So how to set prices to maximize profit? There's a trade-off between price and quantity. It is a trade-off between selling a large quantity of items versus making more money on each item. So, for example, if you look at the supply and demand curves you guys have been looking at, firms could sell large amounts, but they're gonna have to charge less to reach that quantity of people. So this is that trade-off. So use your firm demand curve and the marginal revenue curve to evaluate this trade-off. The firm demand curve summarizes the quantity that buyers demand from an individual firm as it changes its prices or it changes its price. Market demand is the quantity demanded across all firms. Firm demand is the quantity demanded from your firm, and individual demand is the quantity demanded by a single buyer. So just some differentiation. Your market power shapes your firm's demand curve. So here is that graph that we saw in the previous section, just showing the different types of um, market powers and the amount of competitors it has, the products, how differentiated they are, and yeah, how much market power it has. So if we look at market competition or perfect competition with no market power, raising your price a penny above the demand amount above the market price means you'll sell nothing. Lower it a penny and you'll sell a huge quantity. It's basically a flat demand curve. So um when and it makes sense. So if you have perfect competition and there's a bunch of firms and they're selling the exact same product at the exact price, at the market price, um, you wouldn't be able to charge any amount higher than the market price because then the second you do, all your buyers are going to leave and go um, to the market price firms. So there's basically no possible way in a perfect competition, a perfectly competitive market. There's no way to charge above the market price. And if you charge lower than the market price, even a penny lower, you'll basically sell everything. You'll grab the whole market, and you'll basically be the new market price. So this is again in a perfectly competitive market, according to the text, like a textbook perfectly competitive market. So it obviously isn't like this always in real life, but this is how a perfectly competitive market works, where you just charge the market price, and if you charge a price even slightly higher than the market price, you won't sell anything. If you sell lower, then you basically gobble up all the market power. So that's how that works. For um for the middle, for monopolistic competition and oligopoly, you have some market power, and hence a higher price will lose some, but not all customers. Similarly, a lower price will gain some, but not all customers. So this is a downward sloping firm demand curve. So if you look at the darker purple line, that's going to be the firm demand with a high market power, and the more flat line is going to be the firm demand for a low market power firm. Um, so yeah, that shows. And if you guys remember elasticity, this is basically what that represents. So um, when the curve is flat, it means that it's a very, very, very elastic market. Um, it's very susceptible to change. And if you see here, since they're slightly steeper, this is going to be where um, it's more inelastic, and that makes sense because in this case there's fewer competitors. So um, you're gonna have a more inelastic demand. Um, and then finally we have monopoly. So As the only seller in the market, you don't need to worry about competitors, and the demand for your goods is equal to the market demand. So if you look at the market demand curve and the firm demand curve, they're going to be the same because you are the market. There's no one else. You're the only firm in the market, so you basically set whatever the market demand is. You're going to be setting that. So practice question: which of the following market structures has the flattest firm demand curve, all else equal? So think about it, pause the video. I'm gonna go over it in 3, 2, 1. Should be pretty obvious or clear if I've been teaching right. Um, but it is perfect competition, which makes sense. They have the completely horizontal line because they um, are in a perfectly competitive market. So there's nobody that can um, sell even a penny above the market price, or else they're going to lose all their customers, and the customers will just go to another firm that's in the same market, in that same perfectly competitive market, that sells at the same exact price. So your firm demand curve. Experiment with your price to discover your firm's demand curve. Sometimes managers offer different prices to different groups of customers. Again, this is slightly more advanced econ stuff that you're not going to learn. Sometimes managers offer different prices at different locations. Sometimes managers offer different prices over time. Um, yeah, we won't go into this, but if you're interested in that, this is stuff you'll learn in econ later on. It's interesting stuff. Um, this you can do on your own if you want. I'm not going to go over it, but it's just plotting a demand curve. And it'll show her demand curve, the company's demand curve. So marginal revenue curve. Good decisions focus on marginal revenue. Marginal revenue is the addition to total revenue you get from selling one more unit. Calculate the marginal revenue as the change in total revenue from selling one more unit. Marginal revenue lies below the demand curve and declines faster. So we'll see that. So discover your firm's marginal revenue curve. Use your firm demand curve to calculate your marginal revenue. So step one is to calculate total revenue. Your total revenue is simply the price you charged multiplied by the quantity you sell. So at price of 24,000, you sell one. You see here, price of 24,000, you sell one. Price of 23,000, you sell two, and you'll have a total revenue of 46,000, and so on and so forth. And if you look at the firm demand curve, you'll see that. And now step two is to calculate the marginal revenue. And this is the additional revenue you earn from selling each extra item. So at the quantity of one, the total revenue is 24,000. And prior to that, you were selling zero. So the change in total revenue is going to be 24,000. At two items, the price is 23,000. You went from selling 24,000 in total revenue to 46,000 in total revenue. That change is going to be 22,000. That's the marginal revenue. So at $22,000 in price, you're going to sell three. Your total revenue is going to be 66,000. The marginal revenue you gained was 66,000 minus 46,000, which is 20,000. I think you guys understand how that works. If you look here, this is going to be how the marginal revenue curve is going to be plotted. It's slightly below the firm's demand, but it shows how much extra money or extra revenue is the company getting from selling that additional car. So for selling that second car, their marginal revenue is 22,000. That third car is 20,000. Fourth car is 18,000. Your marginal revenue curve. The marginal revenue reflects the output effect minus the discount effect. The output effect is the revenue increase from selling one more units. Output effect equals price. The discount effect is the revenue loss from cutting the price on all the units. So the discount effect is going to be the change in price times quantity. And then marginal revenue is going to be price minus the change in price times quantity. So that's just the formula um, to remember. Discounted effect and output effect, I don't think are as important, but um, I think it is worth just remembering the formula. Um, yeah, we're gonna skip that. Discount effect's not super important. So how do sellers determine their prices and quantities? Step one, keep selling until your marginal revenue equals your marginal costs. Remember that the rational rule for sellers tells us to sell one more item if the marginal revenue is greater than or equal to marginal cost. So they just keep selling until they reach their marginal cost. And then step two, set your price on the demand curve, not on the marginal revenue curve. So, how many cars should Sophia sell and what should she charge? Step one, what quantity should you produce? The rational rule for sellers says to keep producing until marginal cost equals marginal revenue. So her marginal cost is $20,000 per additional car. That's how much it costs her to sell an additional car. And then um, this is her marginal revenue. So how much she made for each additional car. So when these two lines meet, that's where the rule tells her to stop selling. So that's going to be add 3 cars. And then, yeah, look down to see the quantity, which is 3. And then look up to your firm's demand curve to find the highest price you can set and still sell this quantity. So in this case, at 3, according to her demand, she can sell at a price of 22,000. So that's the amount she's going to sell at. And yep, this occurs at 22,000. All right, calculate the weekly profit that Sophia will make for each price and quantity combination. Does following the rational rule for sellers lead her to her highest possible profit? So again, you could do this on your own if you want. You probably have problems like this on Macmillan online, but you'll see that it does lead her to reaching her highest profit. All right. Practice question number 3. What is the relationship among marginal revenue, marginal cost, and price in the market with market power, in a firm with market power? So does marginal cost equal marginal revenue, which equals price? Uh, does marginal cost equals margin? Is marginal cost equal to the marginal revenue, which is less than price? Or does marginal cost equals marginal revenue, which is going to be greater than price? Or does marginal revenue less than price, which equals the marginal cost? So I might go into this one a little because it's a little tricky. Um, but we just saw, I guess, in this previous example. So if a firm has market power, we know that their marginal cost is going to be less. Um, their marginal cost is going to be equal to the marginal revenue. We already know that. That's the rule, which is going to be um, less than the price on their demand curve, because that's how they make their profit when they have market power, versus in imperfect competition where marginal cost is going to equal marginal revenue, which is going to be equal to the price. So I believe it's going to be option B, which it is. Yes. Yay. And let's see. And yeah, that's it for this section.